and welcome back. This is Coding Projects again, creating a follow-on from yesterday's torch video. So yesterday we finished off with a torch that looked something like this, with a button on the screen and this RGB unit over here. So we are going to be continuing this project, making a better UI and adding different modes for our torch. So let's start. You're going to go into UIFlow 2. You can either create a new project or you can just open up your torch project from yesterday and click import. Okay, so the UI we used yesterday was a simple switch in the center of the screen that checked whether it was true or not in the code that we selected, and then changed the color of the RGB lights accordingly. Today we're going to be changing our switch for a button in the button list, or we will be using the list block. Very exciting. We will also be creating somewhere between the 3 and 4 other colors alongside our nice warm white here to create our torch. So let's go and start by going into the UI editor, and let's move our switch to the top of the screen using the vertical align top button. Then we want to add several buttons. Well, actually, let's just add one button for now, and let's call this mode. We're going to type mode in both the name box and the text box. We're also going to change the name of switch 0 to on off. You can't put a space in there because it's the name of this UI element. The other thing we should do is, because yesterday while we were using our torch, the screen was brighter than the torch itself. So what we would like to do is we want to change this background color to a slightly lighter background color, somewhere around this hex value or this RGB value if you prefer RGB, and click OK. So that makes it slightly lighter than black, which means now when we go into the background color blocks and select this, we can drag this down to black, and this on off switch will still show up even though it's basically black. Now that makes the screen a lot darker, which should hopefully mean that you don't use the screen as the torch rather than the RGB unit. Let's just check this mode block is centered in the center of our screen, and then we can exit the UI editor. Right, the first thing we need to do is we need to go and set this switch to the on off. In UIFlow 2, it doesn't update the names of switches, buttons, UI elements after you edit them. The second thing we want to do is we don't want these blocks, because we want the mode button to change what color we're using. So we're just going to drag these out for now and place them over there. What we want instead is we want to go down to RGB and we want to select the set brightness block, and we want to set that to 100, and we want to duplicate it, that's a right click again, and set that to 0. What this means is when the switch is turned on, it will set the brightness to 100%, fairly obvious, and set the brightness to 0 if it's off. The next thing we need to do is we also need to set up our lights. So the first thing we need to do is we need to create a variable. I'm going to call this num, short for number, and I'm going to drag this in and grab a number block from the maths section, and I'm going to set it to 0. Over here, what we need to do is we need to add an if block. I'm going to take the shorter if block so that we can add more colors later when we want to use in the setting option. I also need a equals block, another math number block that can be set for 0 for now, and a number block, num variable block. What this means is that we can then drag fill color in. So now, if the number equals 0, which it does, when we turn the RGB unit on, it will be a nice warm white. So again, sorry, I just got cut off by the phone. So we're going to continue by adding some more blocks to our if-else block. So I'm going to add 3 else-if blocks and a else block to the bottom. That creates 5 in total, and then we can just click the settings button to make that disappear. We're then going to duplicate, that's another right click, 4 times this number equals 0 block, and then we want to change this one to 1, this one to 2, and this one to 3. This one is sort of automatically set to 4 because if number is not equal to 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4, then it will just continue. If it's not set to 0, 1, 2, or 3, then it will be set to 4, which will be the else here. So the next thing we want to do is we want to drag one of these in, and we want to go select a color. I'm going to put this one as a nice red, so I'm just going to fill up the red bar there, 255, and leave these two as a blank. Then I'm going to duplicate that and do it again. This time I'm going to set that to 0 and set that to 255. That'll be a nice green light, and again duplicate and drop 255 and 0. And then I need another color, so I am going to go look up a color. I'm going to use Color Designer. And I like the look of this color, so I'm going to see what this is. 51224 166. (51) 244 and 166. 244 and 166. I'll leave a link to random color generator, colordesigner.io, in the description. The next step is we need to make our, when we press the mode button, we need to make our device change the color. So what we're going to do that is we're going to go up to the M5UI section and click on button. We're then going to click, drag out one of the when mode was clicked in the event section. I'm going to change that to pressed, just so that it's every time it's pressed. Then what we want to do is we want to make it increase num by 1. So what we're going to do is we're going to change num by 1. That means every time you press the mode button, it will increase num by 1. Pretty simple. The next thing we need to do is we need to make it so that when num equals 4, after that, when we press mode again, instead of going to num equals 5, it goes back to num equals 0. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab a if do block and a logic equals block, a num block, and a math block. I'm going to set that to 5. We also need to make it so that using the greater than or equal to, that's right at the bottom for me. It should be a inverted bracket and a underscore underneath it. I'll show that on the screen in the editing. So yeah. Then what we want to do is so that detects when the number is greater than or equal to 5. So if the number is 5, then it'll do whatever's inside, and if the number is greater than 5, it will do whatever's inside. Then we need to set number to, grabbing a maths block here, a number block, we need to set it to 0 again. So now, when we press the button, it will cycle through these colors. Another thing we want to do is we want to just add a tiny little sleep in here of maybe 20 milliseconds, or maybe I'll try 50 milliseconds for now, just so that when we press it, it doesn't flick through multiple modes at the same time. We want to have a gap for the user to release their finger from the mode button. So yes, I'm just going to go and quickly change the font size to slightly larger so that you can see it when I show you the example. I'm going to save my code now, while that's just loading, and then we will run the code to our device. So yeah, see you. Right, hello guys. The first thing you need to do is you need to make sure you have your RGB unit here and your Core 2 here. And then you want to plug your wire in, if you haven't done so already, into the A port on the side of your Core 2, like that, and then you are ready to go. Now we have our M5 stack Core 2 set up with the RGB unit plugged into port A. If we just go look, port A, then we can click run. Come up, select the port, and then run your code. Mine is refusing to run. I will just quickly reboot my Core 2, so just give me a sec. Nicely run. And now we'll switch back over quickly to our setup with the camera so you can see what I'm doing with our M5 stack. Bye. So as with yesterday, we have our Core 2 here and we have our RGB unit. So yeah, we're going to turn it on using the big switch in the center of our screen, and click that and the light does indeed turn on. Then the next test is, does it change color? So it's a bit hard to see on the screen, but I'm going to click the mode button, and yes, it does indeed change color depending on what RGB values you put in your code. So now all there is to do is make sure you saved your project, upload it, and have fun with your new torch.